80 seconds. That's all it took for Alex Pereira to remind the world why they call him Stonehands. At UFC 320, Pereira didn't just win his rematch against Magomed Ankalaev. He detonated. He destroyed the betting favorite who had spent 7 months telling anyone who would listen that he owned Pereira, that the old man's time was done. 80 seconds, one right hook, fight over. But this knockout wasn't just another highlight. It was revenge. And to understand why this moment matters, you need to know who Alex Pereira really is. Most UFC champions come from a specific mold. College wrestlers who started at 6 years old, lifelong martial artists, genetic freaks training since childhood. Alex Pereira is none of those things. He didn't start kickboxing until he was 21. Most professional fighters have 100 amateur fights by that age. Pereira was working in a tire shop. At 38, he's not supposed to be in his prime. Combat athletes peak in their late 20s. Pereira is 38 and getting better. He's evolving. And he definitely wasn't supposed to beat Ankalaev like he did. Vegas had Ankalaev at -258. Pereira was a +210 underdog. That's not close. So what makes a 38-year-old former bricklayer more dangerous than the most technical fighters in the world? It starts with his mind. Watch Alex Pereira's face during a fight. There's no emotion, no celebration, no fear. While Conor McGregor is screaming, while John Jones is doing backflips, Pereira looks like he's running an errand. His face never changes. Win or lose, knockout or decision, the expression is identical, dead calm. That's not an act, that's who he is. Poatan means stone hands in Tupi, the language of Brazil's indigenous people. Everyone focuses on the knockout power, but the stone part is just as important. In indigenous warrior culture, emotion was weakness. Warriors controlled fear, suppressed anger, struck with cold purpose. There's no wasted energy in Pereira's fighting. Every step, every strike has intention. He doesn't fight with emotion, he fights with purpose. And when you're facing a man who feels nothing, who your trash talk can't reach, that's when real fear sets in. When Pereira lost to Ankalaev in March 2025, the internet pronounced him finished, too old, too slow. The game had passed him by. And Ankalaev believed it. For 7 months, he posted memes, gave interviews laughing about how easy the fight had been, called Pereira washed up. Every social media post was another jab. Pereira's response? Nothing. While Ankalaev ran his mouth, Pereira was in the gym, studying tape, fixing mistakes, because true warriors don't respond with words. In 2025, mixed martial arts follows a formula. Speed wins, wrestling wins, volume striking wins. Pereira does none of that. He's a kickboxer in a wrestler's world. He throws 30 strikes while opponents throw 80. He moves slowly while everyone else bounces around. He waits while conventional wisdom screams he should be attacking. And somehow, it works better than almost anyone else's approach. The left hook. That's what everyone knows. Pereira's left hook has ended more careers than most fighters' entire arsenals. It's the precision and timing, the way he disguises it behind other strikes, sets it up 3 moves in advance, makes it appear from impossible angles, watches knockouts. The opponent thinks they're safe, out of range. Then they're waking up with doctors asking what year it is. But the left hook is just the weapon. The real danger is how he delivers it. Range control. Pereira doesn't chase opponents. He walks forward at a measured pace, cutting off escape routes, shrinking the cage until there's nowhere to run. Watch his feet, how he angles off, how every step serves a purpose. He's playing chess, and by the time opponents realize they're in checkmate, the left hook is already coming. The evolution makes him truly special. Against Israel Adesanya the first time, Pereira was patient, a counter-striker, 5th round knockout, middleweight championship. In the rematch, Adesanya stayed outside, used movement, took the belt back. Pereira was too patient. Against Ankalaev in March, same problem. Too defensive, lost a decision. Everyone said the book was written on Pereira. Stay outside, make him chase, he can't hurt you. But the real test wasn't in kickboxing. It came in MMA, where the skills that made him unstoppable were supposed to fail. UFC 320 proved them wrong. From the opening bell, Pereira was different. He walked forward immediately, pressured, attacked, forced Ankalaev to fight his fight. 20 seconds in, Ankalaev was backpedaling, uncomfortable. Then the right hook landed. Perfect technique, caught Ankalaev clean, dropped him instantly, ground and pound. 80 seconds total. That's what separates legends. They evolve. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit subscribe. We dive deep into combat sports every week because Pereira's knockout wasn't an accident. It was the result of a journey nobody predicted. Alex Pereira grew up in São Bernardo do Campo, Brazil, in a favela. He dropped out of school at 12, worked as a bricklayer's assistant, then in a tire shop. By his late teens, he was an alcoholic with no prospects, no future. This was a tragedy in slow motion. When Pereira walked into that gym at 21, he wasn't chasing belts. He was running from a bottle. Every fight since then isn't just about beating another man. It's about proving he outran his own past. In 2009, at 21, Pereira walked into a kickboxing gym, not to become a champion. He was trying to quit drinking. He needed focus. The gym owner saw potential and convinced him to take it seriously. 4 years later, Pereira was a professional kickboxer. 8 years later, Glory Kickboxing middleweight champion. 10 years later, the first fighter in Glory history to hold titles in 2 weight classes simultaneously. He defended his middleweight belt 5 times, beat the best kickboxers on the planet. Then at 33, he made a decision everyone called insane. He was going to try MMA. The transition is brutal. You expose your biggest weaknesses: wrestling, grappling, submissions. Pereira had tried MMA once in 2015 and lost by submission in his debut, but now he wanted to test himself against the best mixed martial artists in the world. November 2021, UFC 268, Alex Pereira's promotional debut. A flying knee knockout that made the entire MMA world stop and say, "Who is this guy?" The power translated, the timing translated, the aura of danger translated, and then the wins kept coming. Andreas Michailidis, knockout. Bruno Silva, knockout. Sean Strickland, decision but complete dominance. And then the fight everyone wanted to see, the rivalry that had been building since their kickboxing days. Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion, the best striker in the UFC, the man who had cleaned out the division, and Pereira's biggest rival. Their history went back years. 2 fights in Glory Kickboxing. Pereira won the first by decision. Pereira won the second by knockout. A left hook so brutal that Adesanya crumbled and Pereira became a viral sensation. That knockout haunted Adesanya, followed him to the UFC, became the thing commentators brought up whenever someone questioned his striking. And now they were going to run it back at the highest level of MMA, with the middleweight championship on the line. UFC 281, November 2022, 5th round. Adesanya was ahead on the scorecards. All he had to do was survive. And then the left hook landed. Not the same one from Glory, but close enough. Adesanya hurt. Pereira swarming. Ground strikes. Referee stoppage. Alex Pereira, UFC middleweight champion. From kickboxing gym to UFC gold in less than 2 years. Unprecedented. The rematch came fast. UFC 287, April 2023. Adesanya was obsessed with erasing that knockout. Trained specifically to avoid Pereira's power, to stay on the outside, to use movement and volume, and it worked. Adesanya reclaimed the belt with a second-round knockout of his own, Pereira's first loss in the UFC. But instead of dwelling on it, instead of demanding a trilogy fight and clogging up the middleweight division, Pereira did something most champions never do. He moved up, light heavyweight, a new division, new challenges, bigger, stronger opponents. January 2024, Pereira stopped former champion Jamahal Hill, knockout first round. April 2024, defeated Gigi Prochaska for the vacant light heavyweight title. June 2024, defended against Prochaska again, knockout in the second round. 3 title fights in 6 months, 3 finishes, the fastest consecutive title defenses in UFC light heavyweight history. At 37 years old, Alex Pereira wasn't slowing down. He was speeding up. He was lapping the division. He looked unstoppable. And then came Magomed Ankalaev, March 2025. UFC 313. The fight that was supposed to be another Pereira showcase turned into his toughest test. Ankalaev's wrestling was suffocating. His striking was technical. His game plan was perfect. Don't engage in the pocket. Don't give Pereira the range where he's most dangerous. Use takedowns to drain his energy. Win on points. And it worked. Unanimous decision for Ankalaev, new light heavyweight champion. Pereira's reign was over. And for 7 months, Ankalaev made sure nobody forgot him. Every interview, Ankalaev talked about how he'd exposed Pereira. Every press conference, more shots. Social media was a non-stop stream of disrespect. Memes about Pereira being old. jokes about him being overrated, predictions that the rematch would be even easier. The betting odds reflected that confidence. Ankalaev opened as a massive favorite, minus 258. The odds makers weren't just against him, they were telling you not to bother watching. Pereira wasn't supposed to survive. Instead, he ended the fight before the announcer could finish saying the sponsors' names. October 5th, 2025, UFC 320. The moment the cage door closed, something was different. Pereira didn't touch gloves, just walked forward, not the patient counter-striker. This was aggression. 20 seconds in, Pereira threw a right hook. It landed clean on Ankalaev's jaw. His legs went stiff. He fell backward. Pereira followed to the ground. Hammer fists. The referee pulled him off. 80 seconds. The underdog had done it again. 7 months of silence answered with violence. This was about proving respect is earned in the cage, not on Twitter. At 38, most fighters think about retirement. Pereira is thinking about history. There's talk about a move to heavyweight, a potential fight with Tom Aspinall or John Jones, becoming the first 3-division UFC champion in history. Critics say it's impossible, too small for heavyweight, too old. They said the same thing about kickboxing to MMA. They said he'd never win a UFC title. They said Ankalaev had figured him out. At every stage, experts said it can't be done. At every stage, Pereira proved them wrong. What's left at light heavyweight? He's beaten everyone who matters. Prochaska twice, Hill, Ankalaev twice. But heavyweight? That's a mountain no one has climbed from his position. That's legacy defining. And when you're a warrior who crawled out of poverty and addiction to reach the pinnacle of combat sports, there's no such thing as enough. Only the next challenge. Some fighters chase money, some chase fame. Alex Pereira chases perfection. He chases the feeling of imposing his will on the most dangerous men on the planet. From a tire shop to UFC champion in 2 divisions. From alcoholic with no future to potential 3-division champion at 38. That's not a career. That's a myth. That's a story that shouldn't be possible. But Pereira made it possible because he has something that can't be taught. The mindset of a warrior, the patience of a hunter, the coldness of stone. Combined with once-in-a-generation striking ability, you get something truly special. A fighter who breaks every rule about age and what's possible. A legend still being written. At 38, with everything he's accomplished, he's just getting started. If you think Pereira should chase history at heavyweight, hit the like button so we know you're with him, and subscribe. Because this story, it's only just beginning.